Okay guys, what's going on? Samali here, and today I'm bringing you a fortune guide on the first upload on this channel, so I really hope you guys do enjoy. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this benefits you in any way, and make sure to leave some feedback. Okay, so today's upload in particular is going to be regarding fortune metagame mechanics, because obviously they're different from the previous from the 5th gen mechanics, and common leads, what to expect and whatnot. So let's get going.
Okay, folks, so I do have co-owner NRF Matt with me,
Yo, what's up, guys?
and together we will be doing an analysis on the 4th gen metagame as a whole for you guys. So we will be starting with the changes in mechanics. As you guys know, there have been several changes in mechanics between 4th and 5th gen. So let's just go and talk about each of them one by one. So, no team preview.
My thoughts about no team preview in 4th gen. Well, to be honest, I think because team preview was probably like the biggest change and like what gave people the biggest advantage in 5th gen
Yeah,
because it made predicting that much easier.
true.
Just because in 4th gen you couldn't see the opponent's team, you had to kind of just like get them to reveal their teams in order to
Mm,
you know
true, yeah. And I guess the more experienced like a battler became in 4th gen, I even just by seeing maybe three team members of the opposing team, you could kind of tell what the remainder of his team would be if you're experienced in, I would say, in the metagame.
changes. Well, the sleep counter doesn't reset because in 5th gen, whenever you got put to sleep by a move, if you switched out, the
Mm,
sleep counter thing would reset.
yeah,
So say like it's not so like 3 turns. Normally it's like I think it's 3 turns
yeah,
maximum that you
yeah,
stay asleep, if I recall correctly, and basically when you switch out, it would basically just go back to like 1, 2, 3. Whereas in 4th gen, it doesn't do that.
yeah. That was really so. In 4th gen, it was a lot better. Basically, you could switch out, come back later, and the sleep counter would not reset. So it's really bad, especially for Pokemon using rest. If you manage to force them out. Um, yeah. So let's move on to the next thing. Rotom
So
forms.
yeah, yeah, Rotom forms in 5th gen. All the Rotom forms were basically the typing was just depending on what their signature move was. So say like Rotom Wash
Yeah.
got Hydro Pump. In 5th gen, it was Electric and Water. Whereas in 5th gen, every Rotom form is Electric and Ghost, no matter
Yeah, and fourth
what.
gen they're all ghost. Even though they still do have their signature moves. So it's not stab. That's why a lot
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I understand, but they're still pretty powerful
true,
nonetheless.
yeah, true. I mean you
Cause
would be
the majority, because most of them have high power after all.
yeah, true. So that's the Rotom forms done. Growth. It's not as important, but growth in fourth gen only increased your special attack by one stage, whereas in fifth gen it increased both your special attack and attack.
Yeah, does it because on the sun it increases in 5th gen it increases attack and special attack by 2 stages.
Yeah, in fourth
Does it
gen, no,
does it
just
does it
one.
does it oh despite if there's sun up or anything.
Yeah, regardless.
Oh
So yeah, that's why it
yeah.
wasn't used so much.
Okay, the next change, sturdy. Because in 5th gen, sturdy allowed you to basically survive at 1 HP if you ever got hit by like a strong move. Say example, you had a
Non-fun?
fortress.
What?
Say you had a fortress against the Ninetales. The Ninetales goes for a flamethrower, and because of the sturdy, you would survive at 1 HP. It's basically just like Focus Sash, but an ability
Yeah.
in 5th gen. But in 4th gen, all it does is it protects you from the one-hit KO moves, specifically Sheer Cold, Fissure, Horn Drill, and Guillotine.
Hmm.
Nice. And the next change, moves like Bullet Seed and Icicle Spear gained more power in 5th gen. They grew up to base their power in 5th gen was like 25, I think, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, and in 4th gen it's only 10.
Yeah, they were
And also
buffed.
and also they don't break Focus Sash.
Yep, true. So, for example, if you have an Aerodactyl and a Life Orb Cloister uses Icicle Spear, and it would usually only KO in 5th gen, but in 4th gen, if you do have Focus Sash, even though it's 5 hits, it wouldn't break the sash. So that was pretty neat back then. And
And wish
yep,
in
wish.
fifth gen the wish mechanics changed.
Basically, yeah. Wish, for example, if your Blissey uses Wish in 5th gen, you'll be getting whatever amount of was it half?
Well, but yeah, half. Like
Yeah,
if it has 714 HP, it will pass off 357
yeah,
to one of your teammates.
yeah,
But in fourth gen, it only restores 50%. It's just like a two-turn recovery move, like soft world or recover or
yeah.
roost.
Yeah, and I think in my opinion, because of the majority of the Wishers like Vaporeon, Umbreon, Blissey, Wish back in yeah, in 5th gen is probably better. That's what I think, yeah. So there you have it, folks. Those are all the mechanic changes. Of course, there's a few more, such as Tackle becoming all the stronger, but I guess that really is not relevant unless we're talking about in-game. So let us move on to the next topic, which will be the most common leads and the most effective leads in the metagame.
Yeah, so leads. A lead will basically just be explaining what a lead is for
Yep,
those of you who don't know. A lead is basically a Pokemon that you send out first in battle, and its main job is to set up things like hazards, specifically stealth rock spikes
yep,
or toxic spikes. And they can some leads like Zelf, some other leads they can set up dual screens, which is really good for team styles like hyper events, heavy events,
yep, yeah, definitely.
because it allows setup sweepers to have an easier time setting up Kingdra and Dragonite,
Yeah, especially
Gyarados,
Kingdra.
etc.
Yeah, especially Kingdra
Yeah,
because it has
yeah,
only one weakness, which
and
is
that is
not
Dragon.
yeah, which is not as common in 4th gen
Yeah,
because
so, yeah.
hmm,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, so, yeah,
And yeah, another thing also in 4th gen, while there's leads, there's also anti-leads. For example,
yeah.
Raikou.
Dragonite,
Yeah.
Dragonite, Gallade.
mm,
Um, what else is there?
Let's see.
Let me see. Let's see.
Specs It's
Yeah,
kinda yeah.
Spexy. There's Metagross, Octoberry Metagross.
Yep.
There's Machamp.
hmm
There's Mamoswine, and then there's Life Orb Starmie, which is a pretty good offensive lead.
Yeah, Starmie is a really good lead, especially because it does have also the rapid spin. So, and it's pretty fast, so
Yeah, and also one thing we've got to categorize: there are all different types of leads. There's suicide leads, there's bulky leads, there's anti leads, and then there's these other leads which are just basically bottom of the barrel, I guess you can say.
yeah, true. So suicide leads would be like Azelf.
Redactyl, Zelf, Frostlass, Gengar, Infernape, Roserade, and Smeargle.
Yep.
So as you can see, the some Aerodactyl and Azelf are probably the most common leads, just because they are like the fastest in OU, and they can both set up Stealth Rock and Taunt pretty quickly, and Azelf can also set up dual screens,
Yeah.
and Aerodactyl can also can deal with a couple other leads as well, especially a couple of the bulky ones, just because Earthquake and Stone Edge can hit quite a lot of things with pretty good
Yeah.
damage.
Especially
Unless it's something like Gliscor, Hippowdon, or Skarmory, or Swampert, or something like that.
so let's talk about each lead more in depth. So let's talk about Azelf first, since it's one of the more premier leads. Um, what sets
Well,
do you think are the most notorious on Azelf?
hmm. Well, Zelf has quite a large move pool for a lead, but there's quite a few different lead sets. There's a standard lead, which is basically just Focus Sash, Stealth Rock, Fire Blast, or Psychic, Explosion, and Taunt. It's basically just setting up stealth rocks, taunting opposing leads. It has an attacking move, like some Fire Blast can hit like opposing
Fortress.
yeah, like Fortress, Sizzle, Bronzong,
Mm,
etc., and Skarmory. Basically, to hit steel type leads for that will usually KO most of them.
yeah, true.
Psychic is the best option against other leads like
Champ.
Machamp, and some people like to use Crobat as well.
Yeah.
in case they try taunting you, threatening you to taunt them or stuff, Stealthrox can just go psychic and just nail them.
Yep.
Speaking of that, some leads, another few leads are also scouts. Scouts are pretty much leads that scout the opponent and might or might not use a choice item. It's usually choice scarf though,
Yeah. So they can
with a
outspeed,
trick.
and you.
Yeah, they can stop proposing leads by crippling them. Because if they trick you with choice scarf and they go for stealth tox, they'll be locked into that move,
Mm,
and then they'll have to switch out, and you can just go for like a U-turn or something and gain switch initiative, which is pretty nice.
yeah. That's a pretty.
Especially if they go into a Pokemon that's weak to another one of your teammates, or just is set up for one of your teammates.
Mm, especially for example, Choice Spec Zapdos. While it doesn't have Trick, is pretty damn powerful, so it can scare out several leads and just can go for U-turn. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Volt Switch, but then again, you can force switches, which is good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah. Um,
Okay, so now that Azov's done, let's talk about Heatran. I mean,
well, let's see. Heatran is quite a pretty is a pretty probably a really good. It's one of the best leads just because it has good unique typing and it has great defenses to go with it,
yeah.
and it can take quite a lot of hits from leads like his elf, and Sugar Bear lets it survive some earthquakes, although not all of them unfortunately.
Mm,
He can also set up stealth rock pretty easily while tanking some attacks.
yeah, true.
It's usually not worried about trick users, as it isn't really crippled by choice items. As if it gets tricked or choice scarf, you could just switch out and you could potentially use it to clean up late game.
Yeah, do not
As
underestimate Heatran.
yeah, 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 yeah. It can be having a choice item, being tricked to choice item can be pretty beneficial
Yeah,
sometimes.
except for if it's banded, obviously.
Yeah,
Um,
just use it. Just go for explosion.
yeah. Oh yeah, true. Also there's choice specs Heatrans, which are more of anti-leads, but boy do they do serious damage.
Yeah.
I mean, you have choice specs Heatran with overheats, O-hit KO and Swampert.
Champ.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can KO leads like Machamp. It KOs it when it KOs a Powdon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Swamp.
unless it's especially defensive, but I think Hippowdon survives if Spice.
But it'll
I
need to be
think
carrying a
Hippowdon
lot
survives.
of special defense, yeah.
Yeah,
Which
but
most don't in fourth gen,
yeah,
so
even if it doesn't kill, it's still gonna do a buttload.
yeah. And
And yeah, Specs Overheat really does hurt.
yeah, unless you resist it, you really would not want to be taking that move.
Yeah, say like Swampert, Tyranitar, but Swampert can't take it as well as Tyranitar just because Tyranitar gets a special defense boost just because of its ability Sandstream
So true.
and its rock typing.
Yeah. Let's move on to another lead. Let's see, Roserade.
Uh, yeah, Roserade. I was gonna say Roserade. So Roserade is basically Roserade is another pretty cool lead in fourth gen. What it does, it can cripple opposing leads that don't carry Lumberry with Sleep Powder. Although it's a shame Sleep Powder does have a pretty shaky accuracy.
Yep, true.
And because like Lumberry leads such as Machamp can screw it over with Ice Punch and Bullet Punch,
Yeah.
which
Not.
is
Not
just isn't the best of things, but
mm,
Roserade is still a pretty cool lead all around. It has a pretty powerful Leaf Storm, which would leave a pretty nice dent in anything
uh,
not named Fortress or Skarmory or Bronzong or opposing Roserade or something like that.
yeah, true. And
And they usually carry HP Fire as well, just to hit like, which is the main reason uh what am I saying?
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Well,
It's the
base.
main move to hit Fortress and things. That's what I was trying to say. I
Yeah.
suck at explaining things.
So yeah, even for incoming Sizor, because when it has the focus sash, Sizor cannot really do much. Even with the bullet punch, it cannot take it down due to the focus sash, and they can just finish it off with hidden power fire. And yeah, so that's Roserade done. What else is there?
Let's see. There's Frostlass.
Frostlass, yeah.
Yeah, Frostlass is a rare lead, but it's still pretty effective.
Yeah. If you're not,
The fact that it's rare is what makes it a pretty good lead. It's basically what it does. It sets up spikes. It taunts opposing leads, just like the Zilf and Aerodactyl and a couple others. It has Destiny Bomb as well, which is useful against opposing leads not named like Machamp or something. Since if you taunt an opposing like lead, such as take Heatran for example, Frostlass goes for a taunt, and Heatran just goes for Fire Blast, knocking Frostlass down to the sash. Then you go for Destiny Bond because you can outspeed, and Heatran kills you with another attack. That basically your Frostlass will die, but it will take the Heatran with it. So it'll
yeah.
basically just basically they'll just lose one. You'll both lose a Pokemon, but
Not to mention that you get rid of the Stealth Rocker, which is really important.
yeah, and plus some also can use Trick if they have a Scarf just to cripple opposing leads like some of the other Trick Scarfers like Jirachi, Zelf,
Yeah. That's
and Celebi.
yeah. Celebi's
Uh,
another interesting lead.
yeah, it's pretty much like a mix of leads. It can set up Stealth Rocks. It can use U-turn. It can use Leaf Storm and Earth Power, which really do hurt.
Yeah. I mean,
Just because Stab, Leaf Storm, Earth Power is mainly there for like
Heatran.
Heatran.
Yeah.
Although Shuckleberry does kind of screw it over, but
Well, at times, like if it does not have Sugar Berry and he switches in, it's going to be in real trouble. That's why a lot of people tend to, when facing Celebi, they try kind of finding out what moves is running first before bringing in their Heatran just to be safe, I guess.
yeah.
Mm.
Let's see. Is that pretty much it for
The
Celebi
lead,
then?
yeah.
Um,
Metagross, there's not too much to say about him. He's just one of the best leads, I guess, because his explosion. I mean, if you're not a Ghost type, you're going to be screwed, literally. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. Speaking of ghost types, Gengar is another good ghost lead.
mm,
Because a pretty cool set that was used in Faldrin's team building guide, which he made in January last year. He basically had a Icy Wind Gengar lead, which was like Icy Wind, Taunt, Destiny Bomb, and Shadow. Was it? I think it was Icy Wind, Shadow Ball, Focus Blast.
Destiny Bond.
Yes, Taunt,
No, I don't
Destiny.
think he had
Yeah, I
Focus
can't
Blast.
remember.
I don't think he has Focus Blast.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But yeah, I think yeah, it's selling. It's Icy Wind is really underrated to be honest.
Yeah,
And
cause, is that it for Gengar?
yeah, I guess that should be enough for the leads. Are we missing anything else? Swampert is
Um,
a pretty good lead, but then again, against grass types, it really couldn't do anything.
yeah. Let's
Yeah,
see. There's pretty much only one more lead I can think of. That's
Infernape.
actually no, not so much Infernape. I'm thinking Jirachi. Jirachi can run it can run a couple of lead sets. It can use a Trick Scarf lead set, which is just like well, some people like to use. I remember I saw this guy who used Trick, U-turn, Stealth Rock, and Iron Head. So it's pretty much just like a revenge killer and a lead all in one.
Yeah, it definitely
Um,
comes in handy, especially if your opponent
yeah,
is using stall. Can
yeah,
cripple.
but the thing is, because I actually run my own lead Jirachi, but it's not really mine. But it was actually made by Espijil, who was one of the best DPP players around, and was also the one who actually taught me the ways of fourth gen. Um, there's basically it was like a life orb Jirachi set with enough speed to outspeed base 80 pokes like um I don't know.
Lucario,
Well
Pokemon that
if you
hit 280,
you're
281,
yeah,
I think.
yeah 284,
284, okay, yeah.
and there was like some special. Most of it was in special attack and some in HP. It's a pretty good lead. It can take on quite a lot of leads
Mm,
in in fourth gen.
yep. Um, Yeah, I guess that should be enough for leads. I'm sure you guys do not want to hear us blabbling too much about the same subject. So, with the leads done, let us talk about perhaps different playstyles in the 4th gen metagame, OU metagame.
There's balanced teams, there's offensive teams, and there's stall teams. However, there is actually like different types of offensive, balance, and stall teams. For example, with offense, there's heavy offense, there's bulky offense, and there's what else is there? I think there's
Right.
spike stacking offense.
Yeah. There's like so
Yeah.
many different branches. There's also basically ones where involved in rain dance. Like,
Yeah, you can. Yes, 'cause some people like to use weather leads.
yeah.
Speaking of, yeah, because like a Zelf is probably one of the most common leads used for weather.
Yeah.
Just because it can set up like rain dance or Sunday pretty easily and just allow someone to sweep.
You also, for some reason, you also see Uxie a lot on rain teams, even though it's slower. I guess
Yeah, mainly just because Uxies are really
bulky,
bulky.
yeah. It can probably set up rain dance more than once, most likely, in the match. So, and plus it got U-turn, which is good.
Yeah, it's one of those bottom of the barrel leads, which basically are just leads that aren't common, but have certain matchups against certain pokes, but
Yeah.
don't generally they don't perform very well.
Mm. But yeah, you probably shouldn't underestimate them, people, because when you do, they'll be giving you a lot of problems, I guess. So let us go and talk about. Let's see. Should we talk about stall first?
Um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, stall teams are basically teams that are just designed to take on like a bunch of offensive threats in the metagame. There are quite a lot few different kinds of stalkers. Like there's the infamous Scarmbliss, which even though it's like pretty overrated, it's still one of the best defensive cores around.
Yep.
Just
True.
because plus they have well, they do have decent synergy, I guess. Just because Skarmory can take like
Close.
it can take most of my physical fighting moves pretty easy, and
Yeah, but just except maybe Lucario, because close combat from Lucario does almost half. So
yeah, and Infernic completely destroys that core as
yeah,
well.
both of them. I guess it just depends which other Pokemon you mix up with that core to make it even better. Because at one point people were using Cresselia, Skarmory, and Blissey, but that was quite a long time ago. I think back in '09, I think. I'm not sure.
There's balanced teams, there's offensive teams, and there's stall teams. However, there is actually like different types of offensive, balance, and stall teams. For example, with offense, there's heavy offense, there's bulky offense, and there's what else is there? I think there's
Right.
spike stacking offense.
Yeah. There's like so
Yeah,
many different branches. There's also basically ones where involved in rain dance. Like,
yeah, you can.
yeah.
Yes, 'cause some people like to use weather leads.
Yeah.
Speaking of because like a Zelf is probably one of the most common leads used for weather.
Yeah.
Just because it can set up like rain dance or Sunday pretty easily and just allow someone to sweep.
You also, for some reason, you also see Uxie a lot on rain teams, even though it's slower. I guess
Yeah, mainly just because Uxies are really
bulky,
bulky.
yeah. It can probably set up rain dance more than once, most likely, in the match. So, and plus it got U-turn, which is good.
Yeah, it's one of those bottom of the barrel leads, which basically are just leads that aren't common, but have certain matchups against certain pokes, but
Yeah.
don't generally they don't perform very well.
Mm. But yeah, you probably shouldn't underestimate them, people, because when you do, they'll be giving you a lot of problems, I guess. So let us go and talk about. Let's see. Should we talk about stall first?
Um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, stall teams are basically teams that are just designed to take on like a bunch of offensive threats in the metagame. There are quite a lot few different kinds of stalkers. Like there's the infamous Skarmbliss, which even though it's like pretty overrated, it's still one of the best defensive cores around.
Yep.
Just
True.
because plus they have well, they do have decent synergy, I guess. Just because Skarmory can take Like
Close.
it can take most of my physical fighting moves pretty easy, and
Yeah, but just except maybe Lucario, because close combat from Lucario does almost half. So
yeah, and Inferno completely destroys that core as
yeah,
well.
both of them. I guess it just depends which other Pokemon you mix up with that core to make it even better. Because at one point people were using Cresselia, Skarmory, and Blissey, but that was quite a long time ago. I think back in '09, I think. I'm not sure. So yeah,
Uh,
common stall Pokemon. Ingredients for a stall team. You obviously have Blissey because it can pass Wish. It can Aroma. It's a cleric, I guess. It got Heal Bell,
yeah,
Aromatherapy.
yeah, yes. Celebi also is another good cleric,
Yeah.
and it has decent defenses all around.
The only thing I
Even
hate.
it just yeah, the only thing that's really like bad about Celebi is that it has 7 weaknesses,
Yeah,
which are fire, ice, poison,
but
flying,
but
bug, ghost, and dark.
yeah, that's way too many, I guess.
Yeah,
And not to mention, Bug is quite common and it's like 4 times effective, so not nice.
yeah, yeah. It is
Mm,
nasty.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
Now, let's see. Tentacruel is another common poke, just because it's a pretty good bulky ward, just because it can set up toxic spikes, and it's also one of the bulkiest spinners around.
yeah. You don't have too many good spinners in the game,
Yeah,
unfortunately, so Tentacle
yeah,
is pretty good. Not to mention, most ghost types such as Gengar cannot do too much damage to Tentacruel anyway. But
yeah,
but Rotom's a problem, obviously.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Other walls. There is
We got
well, yeah.
Gliscor.
Yeah, Gliscor's another common wall, just because it can set up stealth rocks, it can taunt, it can cripple things with toxic as well.
Mm,
Like walls that don't have anything for toxic will just be rendered useless.
yeah, it's probably a good wall breaker because it has taunt and can just toxic them. So,
Yeah, but it's more of like a stall breaker.
mm,
It's, yeah, because like most teams do have something for stall breakers, since um,
mm,
you know,
yeah,
stall breakers are designed to just destroy stall teams, hence the name.
yeah. Like Infernape. Infernape's probably one of the best.
Wall breakers. It's more of a wall breaker, not a stall breaker, but I guess they're kind of similar, just because stall teams are full of walls.
Well, yeah, they have to run walls anyway. So Infernape does well against most walls, to be honest. You have teams such as utilizing Hippowdon, Fortress, Blissey, and then a Rotom. Like Infernape can two-hit KO, if not all-hit KO, most of them. So. Although obviously it's gonna get worn down pretty quickly because of sand damage and whatnot. Life orb.
Yeah, yeah, and going back to Tentacruel, pretty much every stall team needs a spinner, just because if the opponent sets up like just a bunch of hazards on you, that could hurt you late game, especially if they've got like a setup sweeper against you and you've got nothing for them.
Mm,
Since that's why a lot of since that's why quite a lot of offensive teams like to run stealth rocks and spikes, just because it helps some sweepers such as Lucario and stuff.
yeah,
Um,
I noticed.
um, different spinners apart from Tentacruel. There's Fortress, there's Donphan, there's Claydol, there's Cloyster, and there's Starmie.
Starmie is probably the most common with
Yeah,
Fortress, yeah, both of them. But
yeah.
Donphan also was pretty like well known.
Just because it can set up stealth rocks.
Mm,
But Fortress can do the same thing.
true, yeah, and is immune to toxic spikes, so that's better, I guess.
There's another good thing for most wall teams: bulky waters. Now, bulky waters are basically just water types that have good HP and defenses. And they support the team in some way. Like Vaporeon, for example, can cast off wishes as well as like poison an opponent, which could cripple them potentially.
Mm,
There's Gyarados, which can intimidate and just cripple physical attackers,
yep.
which is pretty nice. Suicune, which with hazard support, using Kurokun with hazard support could just wrecks, just because when you set up lines and roar out pokes, it could just like stop sweeps and just get loads of entry hazard damage up, allowing you to potentially just go for a sweep.
Also, another thing, if you have entry hazards, you manage to set them up, and you're versing stall. If you do have substitute Suicune, that's a pretty deadly Pokemon because Blissey cannot break its sub with only one seismic toss. So you know,
Yeah.
not to mention pressure can outstall it. So
Yeah, that's very true.
mm.
Is there anything else about stall teams?
Stall teams should watch out for Magnezone, that thug, because he likes
Yeah.
to snatch steel types, mostly Fortress and Skarmory. So we're
And yeah, give him a taste of that fire,
yeah.
that HP fire.
It's a,
But the Thunderbolt, the Thunderbolt is also will also normally it won at KO Skarmory, which is usually the better
and I
option.
think yeah, it'll easily 2 KO Fortress.
Yeah, but HP fire easily won at KO's Fortress anyway.
Yeah, so
However, if the Skarmory or Fortress has Shed Shell, then that could be a problem if you don't have anything for them apart from Magnezone.
oh yeah, true. Because they'll just keep switching out, and
Yeah, because that's what Shed Shell does. It basically prevents you from being trapped.
and something I've seen on quite a few people is them having Shed Shell, Fortress, and Skarmory, and having a Dug Trio also. So what they do, they bring the Skarmory, lure the Magnezone, bring Dug Trio, and it's pretty much yeah, the
Yeah,
Magnezone is gone.
yeah, but I remember that time I saw you battling in Ray Scarface for this DPP tool,
Mm.
and I remember when he brought, I think it was a Heatran against you. He had a Jirachi. He went for U-turn, sent in Dugtrio and trapped him and killed him with EQ.
Yeah,
That
Celebi.
yeah, that's another pretty good that's pretty another good strategy. Like
Yeah.
say just use something to lure say just if you have a Dugtrio then it's pretty good to lure like Heatrans or something that aren't scarfed.
Mm.
And you could say you have just say you have like a scarf Archie or something.
Yeah.
They send in Heatran to deal with you. You go just check you, counter you, just go for U-turn, send in Dugtrio, kill him with EQ.
Yeah, regardless whether it
Love.
has Sugar Berry or not, it's going down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty damn powerful. Also, Tyranitar, because they like coming in on Celebi for some reason. I do not know why.
Yeah, but that's just because they think Celebi can't really do much without boosts
Leaf
and
Storm,
special
yeah.
attack.
Unless it's like one of those modest Leaf Storm that can easily 2 KO.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Tyranitar is also a pretty good walling poke.
Mm.
Tyranitar is also just like an amazing poke all around, just because it has really good offensive and defensive stats.
Mm.
Because like the only stat that Tyranitar doesn't really have much in that is the worst stat for Tyranitar is speed.
Yeah.
However, if you have we can talk about that later. Like the speed thing and the sweeping thing
Oh, yeah.
after we've done with the stall.
Yeah.
And
So,
let's
yeah.
see.
So, like we said, vital components for stall is you always need a rapid spinner because if you verse another stall and they manage to get up hazards, you're in deep trouble, to be honest. Especially if they have toxic spikes. Because yeah, I noticed toxic spikes versus stall really destroys them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
just
yes. And speaking of toxic spikes, another good strat. If you don't have if you don't have a spinner for toxic spikes, if you have a poison type or
mm,
something, that's also pretty useful just because they can get rid of the toxic spikes.
yeah,
However, if it's flying type or levitate, I don't think if it's a poison slash flying type or it's a levitating poison type like Weezing, I don't think it can get rid of toxic spikes.
yeah. So don't be bringing in your Gengars trying to absorb toxic spikes because it won't work. It needs to be a
Yeah,
grounded Pokemon.
yeah,
Yeah,
like like Tentacruel, like Roserade,
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. Muck, but yeah, never mind. No one uses Muck. um,
I do. Shut up.
yeah, Muck
Uh,
is pretty deadly. Only if it has +6, I guess. Okay, let's move on to another playstyle, I guess.
offense, maybe.
Yeah, let's go into offense.
All right. Now there are more like we said a few minutes ago. Um, there are much more different types of offensive teams than there are stall teams. Like there's heavy offense, bulky offense, and spike stacking offense.
Mm,
Now basically, heavy offense usually consists of well, normally what they do is basically just revolve around using all physical or special sweepers in conjunction with reflect and light screen support.
Mm.
And this way, all of your Pokemon on your team are ruled by the same Pokemon, and you basically just keep smashing the counters until the Pokemon eventually get KO'd, and then just basically allowing the rest of your Pokemon to sweep. And in a heavy offensive team, they should consist of all the team members should be able to sweep late game. It shouldn't be based around a specific Pokemon sweeping.
Yeah.
And also with heavy offense, you shouldn't be switching around much. So you should only be switching if they have like a Scarflygon, for example, with an Earthquake against you or Lucario. And so basically you should send in like if you have a Gyarados or maybe a Dragonite or whatever, and then they could just take it and set up a Dragonlance and potentially just put a dent in the team. Basically it's just to send out some. The general idea of heavy offense is just to send in something, set up, attack until it's KO, then repeat.
Okay.
Now, basically, most leads for heavy offense are usually it shouldn't really be like, well, choosing a lead for heavy offense is really just something that not only sets up dual screens but sets up stealth rocks. And say Azelf and Jirachi are both excellent choices. Just Azelf is fast and can set up pretty quickly, whilst Jirachi has really good defenses
Yeah.
and also has U-turn to give just like
Switch
switch advantage,
initiative. Yeah, I guess.
switch initiative. Yeah.
Mm.
Also yeah, 'cause, like I said, most people like to run physically based hyper offense just because it's easier to use than specially based, so there's a dedicated special rule that's incredibly difficult to break.
AKA Blissey.
Yeah,
Blissey is just insane, to be honest.
yeah.
Not.
Let's see.
Mm.
Bronzong is another. Bronzong is also a choice for heavy offense, but it's generally just too slow to set up screens, and it will just get taunted.
Yep, definitely. So I would recommend one of the Pixies, as Azolf, Yuxi, one of them, Yuxi, however you pronounce it.
Preferably as Elf or Uxie.
Yeah.
Or Jirachi, just because resistances. Just Mesprit. Nah, just don't use Mesprit.
Yeah. Forget Mesprit is just I don't like that Pokemon.
Yeah, I guess it's good in UU
Yeah. So
as a
let's just give the
thing.
people a few examples of Pokemon that can sweep like with screens, like
Yeah, there's Gyarados,
Kingdra,
there's Karea, Metagross,
Tyranitar.
with and there's Scizor, Dragonite. There's some nasty plotters as well, isn't there?
Mm, well,
Um,
yeah. Let's see.
um,
Well, those are the most common anyway, because
yeah,
like you said, everyone uses physical. Um,
yeah. As Infernape's another decent choice, despite the fact that it's still frail as a breadstick
yeah,
behind the screens. And Jirachi's decent because it can set up Carmines.
yeah,
And Super Orochi is one of my favorite sets. I love Super Orochi so
yeah.
much.
That thing's such a beast. It just sticks the middle finger to Heatran.
Yeah,
Such a good
yeah.
Pokemon.
Especially if it runs HP ground
Yeah,
like I do.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, even me, that's why I run. To be honest, I hate Heatran. Just
Yeah. Um.
okay. So those were the main Pokemon, the big boys who know how to sweep and work behind screens, I guess. Especially Dragonite and Kingdra. Those guys are just insane. Because Dragonite already got monstrous attack, and yeah, without ice type attacks, you won't be doing too much to it behind the screens anyway. So,
Yeah.
hmm,
There are other offensive places, but we can probably explain them like another time, maybe next episode.
yeah,
So this video is like 50 minutes,
yeah. So,
we're just gonna move on to balanced teams.
yeah, balanced. Well, balanced teams are basically teams where you have a mixture of sweepers
Yeah,
and tanks, I guess.
yeah. A typical balanced team usually consists of well, from what I've seen, a lot of balanced teams like to use a lead, a physical sweeper, a special sweeper, a physical wall, a special wall, and then just like something else like
Yeah,
a revenge killer or something.
yeah. Something to basically patch the team up, I guess.
Yeah.
The common sight on balance team is Breloom. That guy. Wow. Well, yeah, we have to speak about Breloom. It's really annoying if you do not have anything to safely switch in. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, you need to use it, yeah, but like, uh, yeah, basically, for those of you who don't know what Brendan does, even though all of you should know, it goes to Spore, sets up a sub, and then it just screws you over with a focus punch.
yeah, and and if you're immune to Focus Punch, you'll just Seed Bomb, aka Rotom. So it's really dangerous. I mean, Focus Punch 2-hit kills Skarmory, so that's scary. That's really scary.
Yeah.
To be honest.
um,
So whatever you do, do not let your Skarmory get spoiled, or else you're in trouble.
indeed.
Mm.
Zapdos is another decent check, but if it's not physically defensive,
Mm.
then
Yeah,
or if the Brilliant runs Stone
Stone Edge.
Edge,
Yeah, which a few
big
do.
game.
Yeah. And the problem with Zapdos is that most likely when it switches in, it's most likely gonna already lose 25% from rocks, so that's not nice. There's Gyarados can physically defensive Gyarados can intimidate it before it goes for the sub and phase it out with roar, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but if they have Stone Edge or Sea Bomb, knowing my luck, they would crit me.
Yeah, that's what always happens to Matt. Always getting critted. Um, so yeah, like there's not too many counters and checks to Breloom once it's behind the sub. If it's not behind the sub, of course, a lot easier to handle because it can be intimidated, and you wouldn't have to waste 2 turns to get rid of it. But yeah, and he got interested in typing, to be honest. Even though it's 4 times weak to flying and weak to psychic, it's and fire. Yeah, it got quite a good number of resistances: water, rock. What else? Wow. Electric, yeah. So it's a pretty hardcore Pokemon.
Was it? Well, that I wasn't even paying attention.
Oh, Breloom. Now we're just talking about the resistances for Breloom.
Oh, oh,
Yeah. So, folks, obviously we don't want to be dragging this too long. So we basically explained the change in mechanics between fourth gen and fifth gen.
and
Explained,
we've been explained different playstyles and like the biggest threats for those certain playstyles and
yeah.
stuff like that.
And also,
However, we can in future we might be explaining some more about stuff
yeah,
because we would have been explaining like, the other different types of offensive teams, but looks like I'll have to save that for another time.
yeah. We might do a part 2 of this, and
Yeah,
definitely we'll be doing a lot of team building workshops.
yeah, yeah,
Some of you
yeah,
requested.
yeah. The next one is probably going to be on team building.
Mm,
In,
yeah, that's pretty important.
so you just stay tuned for that, I guess.
Yep. So from me, goodbye, and from Matt,
It's good. So it's goodbye from me, and it's
yep.
goodbye from him.
Yep. Okay, peace,
So
guys.
peace.
Peace, peace.